What's up, everybody? It's Dom here. Back for episode 7 of Dreadful Talk. Rocking the shades today. You know, I had to give my eyes a rest. I'm bad about that, man. I'll be leaving them contacts in forever. Eye doctor got onto me about it. I'm trying to be better about that shit. But today has kind of an interesting topic, and that topic is me, yours truly. I know everybody watching probably like this narcissistic bastard doing an episode about himself. But no, there's a few reasons why I'm doing this. One reason is that, like a lot of other people that start podcasts, they're already well known for other things before they start their podcast. Whether it be fighting, stand up comedy, acting, sports, athletics, what have you. Traditional television media, traditional radio, like usually. So I don't know. It's kind of, I don't want to say unique that I'm, doing this, but I just kind of want to let who the hell I am, why, like kind of just give you some context to the things I say. To those of you out there that know me or think you know me, I'm sure you'll learn a new thing or two. And then to those of you out there that don't personally know me, just know me through social media or the podcast, and maybe give you a little more insights to just, how I came up. I'm a strong believer in nurture over nature. Like I really, in a lot of aspects of life, like I believe that we're in a lot of ways we're products of our environment, and so like I feel like if I talk about my environment, it'll give you an understanding of just like who I am. And like I said, like I guess the major reason is like context. Like if I explain thoroughly who I am and what I'm coming from and like what made me who I am and just who the hell I am and maybe why you should care what I think or what I say, I feel like this would be like a good baseline, starting. Not that it's my first episode, but it's picking up steam, and shout out to y'all for that. Shout out really every like, every share, every subscribe, man. It just means the world to me. So yeah, it's picking up steam, and so I know there's gonna be people that catch on late, or like I said, that don't know me personally, that just find out about me. So this will just let you know a little bit who Dom is, what I'm about, where I come from. And so I was actually born right where I'm at today, essentially, San Jose, California. San Jose is in like on the it's what's called the South Bay, or like the South Bay area. So the Bay Area has like the peninsula on one side, and then the water comes down like this, and then everything over here is like Oakland and the East Bay. This is the peninsula. The tip would be San Francisco. San Jose is down here, what's called the South Bay, and the Santa Clara Valley, also known as Silicon Valley. A lot of the tech businesses, tech companies are out here. That's like the major driver of the economy here. One of the reasons it's so nice here. So, the tech companies are very polarizing whenever you talk to, locals. A lot of people hate the gentrification that it brought. But just coming from somewhere that doesn't really have that much of an economy, you can just look around this city and tell that business is booming, and it makes it a pleasant place to be. And that business is tech. So like all things in life, I'm real big on like yin and yang. There's positive come with the negative. I don't really think much is 100% good or 100% bad. Like there usually comes some mixture of both. So I like to approach life with like looking at that duality of those things. But yeah, born here in San Jose, California. That's why I just actually recorded a song. Actually, I make music too. I rap. I recorded a song called Red Dirt, but like the chorus is Red Dirt to the Golden State. And like, I really, and like before that song, I have people talk before the actual beat drops. I'm like, I moved from my hometown to my hometown. And I really feel that way. Like, some people may not think that makes sense or whatever, but like, I was born here in San Jose. I actually moved back to Oklahoma really young, but then I've been back in San Jose for the past going on 4 years. So Like, I don't know. I really do feel like, both of these are my hometowns. I even have this tattoo. It says 408 born, 405 raised, and it has Oklahoma and Cali. Um, so, like, that's just been like a real big theme of, like, that's a big part of understanding who I am, is understanding those two environments, and they are vastly different environments. And maybe that's why I'm so good at understanding duality and seeing both sides to situations. Because, like I said, my roots, my family, on one hand San Jose, and then on the other hand Norman, Oklahoma. I love Norman, Oklahoma. Don't ever think the things I'm saying are talking down on Oklahoma. I'm talking of my experiences and the unique struggles that a place like Oklahoma presents. Because everywhere presents struggles. Inner cities, big cities, coastal states, southern states, like Midwestern states. Everybody has their own struggles. So, like, don't ever think that I'm just like shitting on Oklahoma. I just don't think that the story of, like, the struggles of somebody in Oklahoma or somebody of color from Oklahoma has been accurately, represented to the masses. And so I love Oklahoma. I made me some fried catfish the other night. I know some of y'all seen that on my story. I love me at Oklahoma. I'm still a big OU Sooners fan, big Thunder fan. Like, I love Oklahoma. Don't ever think that I'm like ragging on Oklahoma. There's just vast differences from where I'm at and where I come from, and each place provides their own unique struggles. And like I said, I feel like the story of gentrification's been told. The story of like urban inner cities been told. East Coast, West Coast has been told. I don't necessarily know if the story of a, person of color from a place like Norman has really been told. I mean, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, but I'm here to tell my version. So yeah, and it's important to note in this story. One second, gotta stay hydrated, y'all. I also want to say, if you ever want to like feel higher than you actually are, take a nice big dab and then immediately switch from your contacts to your glasses. I feel like I'm like in a fishbowl. Like, I feel like on that '70s show when they're like trying to like show what it looks like to be high. I feel like that's how I feel right now. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Anyway, no, I'm good. But change. I'm not fully used to glasses again yet. I went years without wearing them, so just yeah. I don't know. That was a unique little funny story that happened. But yeah, so I was born. This is important to note. My birth certificate says Matt Garrett and Vinny Rossetti. Matt Garrett is a white man. Vinny Rossetti she's Mexican and Italian, but like her skin is essentially white. Like, if you saw her just describing her, didn't know her, stranger, you'd probably describe her as white. Probably you wouldn't describe her that way once she opens her mouth. Anybody that knows Vinny will know what I'm talking about. But shout out Mama Vin, love you. And so yeah, just like I said, I'll come back to that. It's important to know I was born to Matt Garrett and Vinny Rossetti here in San Jose. Then in like 1997, I was born in 1994. I just turned 26 the other day on June 18th. Shout out June babies. I don't do all that whole sign shit, but shout out June babies, whatever the hell that means. I think they be hating on us, but I think that's why I don't pay attention to that noise. But yeah, I was like 3 years old. Moved to Wynnewood, Oklahoma, and if that town sounds familiar to you, and you're asking yourself, why the hell did I recognize Wynnewood, Oklahoma? Yes, that is the town from Tiger King. I've been to GW Exotic Park long fucking 10, 15, 20 years before that shit came out. No, I don't remember meeting Joe Exotic, although it's like one of those things I'm sure I did. Like, I had to, right? Because I went to that place more than once. Like, I had to meet that crazy fucker. I just don't remember every fucking weekend zoo trip from my elementary school days. But yeah, I have been there, and yeah, that is the town from Tiger King. So yeah, talking to a true Oklahoman. Don't tell me shit about being an Oklahoman until you lived in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, motherfuckers. Man, I know that's a struggle, man. I guess I'll kind of talk about Wynnewood for a second. It's a weird fucking place, man. I mean, when I lived there, the population on the sign said 2,000. Everybody would always crack the joke that they didn't know where that many people were hiding at. Very small town, like southern Oklahoma. It's like an hour south of Oklahoma City if you head south on I-35. Probably like 45 minutes south of Norman. In the boonies. It's a country little town. And I don't know, people that still live there probably won't like me saying this, may be controversial. I mean, the town's essentially segregated. I mean, at least it was when I was there. This was in the late 90s when I was really spending time there, very early 2000s. Essentially segregated. I'm not saying like Jim Crow segregated, but I'm saying essentially all the black folks stayed in one neighborhood, which isn't uncommon. Like cities like Chicago are like that too. So, I mean, no, once again, not here to shit on anybody, just telling my experience, you know. Essentially kind of a segregated town. But a unique thing about that town compared to most other small southern Oklahoma towns, there's a lot of black people there. It's just kind of, it's two separate worlds. There's almost like white Wynnewood and black Wynnewood. But it's like that in a lot of cities. I mean, it's like that. I said Chicago's a great example. So I'm not shitting on small towns or shitting on Wynnewood. There's like a refinery there. Literally the only fast food place in town, at least back then. There was a Sonic. Shout out Sonic. I miss y'all. Apparently there's one in Gilroy or something. I haven't made my way out there yet. I do miss them. Chili dogs. Yeah, call me gross for eating hot dogs or chili dogs. Whatever. I would kill for a Sonic foot-long chili dog right now. Not even going to say no homo. That sounds bum. I'd smash that shit. But yeah, so I moved to Wynnewood, Oklahoma. Age 3, 1997. Started playing T-ball at 4, man, and I was a little slugger. I was good. But that's only important to note. Nobody cares about my T-ball career, but that's just to say sports were a part of my life from age 4 to age like 21. So that was a huge part of my journey whenever I stopped playing sports, when I quit playing football. Was just like, whoa, what the fuck do I do with my life? Because since age 4, that was like my main goal in life, was just be good at sports, you know, have fun playing sports. But to me, you had fun by winning and performing well. I'm a very competitive guy, still am. That ain't left me. Still competitive, hate losing. I'm one of those hate to lose more than I love to win, shout out Wale type of guys. But yeah, so I'm very competitive. I mean, I played sports. And like, let me tell you, man, I didn't play like modern day, like, even though I am a millennial, I didn't play modern day millennial like youth sports. Like, I was living in small Oklahoma towns, man. That shit was serious, like really serious, like competitive. Like you would think that shit was like, I don't know, man, like, this wasn't no orange slice, no type of T-ball. I was playing country T-ball, man. Like, that shit was funny. Looking back on it, it seems like some shit really that should have like its own like little sketch comedy show, like some fucking, I don't know, like it King of the Hill meets Workaholics meets Chappelle's Show type of mashup. Like, it's just like ridiculous, the type of shit that would go down at these just coach pitch and like people's grandpas wanting to fight the refs. Hell, I think my grandpa wanted to fight one of the refs at one of my games. Like, ratchet shit went down. So like these new school little leagues, man. Like, it's probably for the better. I'm not one of those guys that wishes like the torture we went through on the younger generation. But man, that's my old man walk uphill in the snow both ways type of story, man. Them fucking old school, late 90s country little leagues, man, it was different, man. If you went through it, man, I know you a better man for it. We strong. We out here. That molded us. But seriously, like, I'm half joking and half not, man. Like, I've always been a competitive person, and I had to, like, learn that there. Just sports is a good way just to navigate this world, at least for a young man. And I feel like when you get older, it starts to like kind of box you in and limit you in certain aspects of your growth and your journey. Maybe that's a debate for another podcast. But as a very young man, I think it has a lot of positive traits. Like, I have worked with people and just met people that never played sports. And I'm not saying it has to be sports. Like, it has to be something, though. Like, them kids that didn't do fucking no type of activities, man, Be mad if you want to, man. A lot of y'all useless as fuck, man. I've worked with y'all. I've met y'all. Shit, like make your kid do something. It don't have to be football. I don't care if it's painting, art, singing, something. But don't just let your kids be out there just not doing shit. Like, cause that shit, I've like that shit will mold their character the wrong way. I know I learned a lot from sports. But yeah, my first love was baseball. I know everybody knows me as a football guy. Once again, got football tattoos. Love football. It's my number one favorite sport now. But started baseball was my first love, and I've actually re-fell in love with baseball since moving to the Bay Area. Um, One second, yeah. That's where having a guest, is smooth. You can just slide them little water breaks in there like a fucking little jab. Just slide it in there, but ain't nothing saving y'all from this. But so next important thing to know about just like, and this work formed a lot of my views on religion, on school, on a lot of shit. I didn't start off in public school. I started off at a private Baptist school in Purcell, Oklahoma, which is another little small town, bigger than Wynnewood, smaller than Norman, quite a bit smaller than Norman, but quite a bit bigger than Wynnewood. And I went to a small private Baptist school there. And it's kind of, I asked myself this, and you may be asking, like, especially anybody that knows my mom, like, why the hell did they send him to a private Baptist school? Like, my family's not Baptist. My family's not even really religious. So, but and that's a bigger picture. Like, Oklahoma has some of, like, the worst public schools in the nation. Like literally ranked in like the mid to late 40s out of 50. Like literally some of the worst public schools in the nation. I can tell you some horror stories about my public school experience, and I went to one of the good schools, so I can't imagine what some of these other schools are like. But so my mom knew that. My mom knew that Oklahoma didn't have good schools, so she thought that this would give me a better education and a better shot at life ultimately, which in a lot of ways it did. I learned a lot really fast. I was also indoctrinated with like evangelical Protestant beliefs. But I did get a pretty damn good education, weirdly enough, because the teachers didn't even have to have degrees or nothing. It was literally just like church moms. Like, I don't even think that shit would be legal now. Like, I don't even know if it was legal then. Like, I guess it was, but yeah, just like a church school. Like, it was literally the school was at a church, and like, these wasn't real teachers. But I did somehow learn more than public schools. Like, I didn't go to public school till third grade, and I had already learned all that like for years and years. Like, I learned how to read faster. Like, we're writing cursive in pre-K. Like, I could like read like good by like kindergarten, pre-K. So it's like it did have its advantages and its disadvantages. Like, academically, I was always real good in school, and I probably got to trace it back to that. But at the same time, man, that shit, I had to unlearn a lot of shit culturally and socially that I learned at that weird ass little church school in Purcell, Oklahoma. So I went there from pre-K to second grade. So like my real formative years were spent there. But yeah, so that's that story. Um, So in like first grade is when my mom, like when Vinny and Matt split, and me and my mom moved to Purcell, Oklahoma. That same because that's where my school was, I imagine, and it was like a slightly bigger town, like I said, and it wasn't super far away from my dad. Like my mom wasn't trying to like take me from him or nothing like that. We just had to move around, and like and like I guess maybe it's because I was real young. I was 6, but I was a smart 6-year old. I knew what was going on. I remember not being sad. Like I know some kids get like fucked up emotionally when their parents split up. I was tired of listening to their asses argue. Quite frankly, like I've always like been real like that. Like I was like honestly tired of listening to that shit. So, hey, I was like, whatever, we gonna make this move. I wasn't too bothered by it, especially because I wasn't changing schools or nothing. Um, so, in this neighborhood we moved into was a shitty neighborhood. It was kind of like my first introduction to like the hood, cause like in Wynnewood, I lived in like essentially the country. Like it was outside city limits. Like we pretty much didn't have a neighborhood. We had like a long driveway, all that, like a country house. So this is my first time living in any neighborhood, and it was a shitty neighborhood. So like that was my introduction to like living in a shitty neighborhood with a single mom in America. Very different. It was very different. The neighborhood. And when I say shitty, what do you mean by shitty? Like a lot of people out there, if you've never lived in a small town, you may not even think that small towns have hoods. Like that may sound like an oxymoron, like a contradiction, but they do. And that's kind of what I meant by why I wanted to tell my story, and what I meant by saying it's like an undertold story. Like I feel like to most people that word sounds like a contradiction. Small town, hood, how did those things like blend? Well, let me tell you how it blends. It blends. What are things that make the hood bad? They have a lot of single parent households. They have a lot of drug abuse and drug sales. They have a lot of crime, domestic violence. They have, malnourished children, gangs, which I'll say in Purcell, the gangs wasn't really a thing. But everything else on that checklist, that neighborhood met. There was a fuck ton of crystal meth in that neighborhood. A lot of these kids' parents and shit was doing it. Just like visually ghetto shit, like every yard had a fucking pit bull chain to it that was vicious as fuck. Not these sweet pit bulls that still have their ears. Like, nah, these was hood pit bulls that will fuck your ass up if they got off that chain. I used to have to walk my dog, was one of my after school chores, walk my dog around the block, and I had to carry like this like staff to like not beat off, ha ha ha, 12-year-old kid joke. Anyway, like fend away these like fucking just hood ass dogs that would get off their chains. It was like a moment of truth. You would hear them, woo, 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 and then you would hear that train drag, 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 and there would be the moment of truth where either that chain was gonna snap or that fucking dog would get yanked back real hard. And like I remember that distinctly. Like that was my like, man, talking about get your heart racing. Like most of the time that shit would yank back. But every once in a while, man, that shit would just not yank it on. That shit would snap and we have to run. Or this one time, I had this long-haired, shaggy dog. Anybody that remembers Rocky from the OG house, man, you know what I'm talking about. Rocky, believe it or not. Not the most least threatening, least scary dog ever. Long-haired, shaggy, medium-sized dog. This dog, that exact story I just told happened, and this dog came, and my little dog killed that fucking dog, man, right there in the middle of the street, protecting me. That's a real story. Fucking my dog ripped that dog's throat out. And I know, oh, you don't want to hear that, but that shit was life and death, and my dog saved me. So fuck that other dog, man. That shit was really trying to kill me. But yeah, man, so that was just like I said, man, like I said, I wasn't necessarily tripping when my parents split up, but it didn't take me long to realize that this was like a new world I was living in, just bad neighborhood, different town, single mom, all that. So yeah, just kind of like that small town / you could even say rural poverty, rural struggle, small town struggle. That's like an undertold story that I feel like a lot of people out there can relate to. Like Dave Chappelle kind of touched on it a little bit, like when you, like the brokest kid at a rich school, like it's a different type of struggle. Like I said, we've all heard the inner city typical struggle. We've all heard, I just don't feel like the small town rural struggle is a story that's been told enough and just pop culture, really, I guess, just any at all. So that's why I'm kind of just wanting to tell a little bit about it, and like I said, just provide context and other takes that I have in the future, and probably I've already had. Um, so in sixth grade is when I moved to my other hometown, Norman, Oklahoma. It's like I don't consider Wynnewood or Purcell my hometowns at all. Like I do consider Norman a hometown, Norman, Oklahoma. So Norman, Oklahoma is a decent sized place. It's I mean it has like 120,000, I think maybe 140,000 when the students are there. People, it's a college town. It's where the University of Oklahoma is, like Boomer Sooners, like the OU Sooners. So just overall a way better environment, definitely. Just more positive, more educated populace. Better neighborhoods. In some ways, you could say less drugs. Or at least just I wasn't living at the place where there was drugs at no more. Probably a better way to put it. So just a better environment. Just bigger town, better schools, all that stuff. So I want to tell the story how I met essentially like my lifelong friends. If anybody out there that plays football, like usually your first couple football tryouts or walkthroughs or whatever are like a couple weeks before school starts. And so we had enrolled in Norman football because we knew we were going to be moving to Norman. And my mom had bought a hair salon in Norman. So that's why we ended up moving there. And so I was playing fullback. So it was like me, and then the other running backs, or the running back was Tez, and then the other fullback I was competing with was Wesley. And then so I knew them from football practice. So then but mind you, so Tez is a black man, Wes is a Hispanic fella, and but mind you, up to this point, man, like I really had I don't want to say no intro to black culture, but A, I didn't know I was black yet, and B, like I knew, like my mom would play Bob Marley, shout out Bob behind me, like James Brown, like older, like that type, not really any rap or hip hop, but she would play black music, a lot of black music, Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, like great black music, some of the best black music that's ever been made. But not necessarily some shit that a bunch of sixth grade young black kids are gonna, relate to. Jimi Hendrix. So, and I think I was actually wearing a Jimi Hendrix shirt, just dressed, let's just say to the very least, not dressed like anybody else at the lunch table that I was approaching. I think I was wearing some skateboard shoes, like some big ones, like some fat, like Adios or some shit. And I went to sit down at the lunch table, and like half of the lunch, and essentially like 90% black at the lunch table I sat at. But I sat there because I recognized my teammates, like the dudes I blocked for. I was like, I might as well. I'm a fullback. I might as well get good friends with my running back friends. Um, and quite frankly, I just like in Purcell, I had gotten in a lot of fights with like essentially upper middle class and rich white kids. Won them all, by the way. Shout out my elementary undefeated rep. Just kidding, totally. But seriously, beat up a lot of like upper middle class rich white kids. They try to clown on me for my clothes. I want to be up to date or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just kids are assholes. Kids are vicious. It probably wasn't even personal. Probably assholes to everybody. But I had to give a couple of them the hints. And so like I was kind of like wary of like upper middle class white people. And if you know anything about Norman, Oklahoma, there's a fuck ton of upper middle class white people. Like that's kind of like the main like demographic that describes Norman, Oklahoma. And so I look around the cafeteria, like typical straight out of like a teen movie, like first day at the new school, don't know where to sit, super awkward, new kid, new town. And I look over and I see a couple of my running back friends, some guys I recognize from the football team. Definitely don't want to sit with any of these rich white kids. And so I was like, all right, bet. Like, that's where I'm going to go sit. Like I said, I'm dressed nothing like these kids. I'm kind of caught in a situation where I really don't relate to either side, to be quite frank, right at the beginning. And I sat down, and I want to say And I say this because we're friends now, and I got much love for the dude. It's a hilarious story, so I'm not like saying this from like a bitter place. But I think I sit down and the homie DeAndre, I won't even say his last name. My homie DeAndre, if you're from Norman, you know who DeAndre is. And my homie DeAndre looked over and was like, "Who is this nigga?" Because like I said, I was wearing like some fat audio shoes, like a Jimi Hendrix shirt, just not, maybe even a Green Day shirt, maybe something like that. And he was like, "Who is this nigga?" And then I forget exactly who it was. Maybe Tez, maybe Rico. Somebody was like, "Oh, he on the football team." And and a lot of those people I describe, I'm friends with to this day. My boy Tez, shout out Rico, Tez, Wesley, man, the Owens brothers, man. Shout out, I love y'all boys, always will. So that memory stands out to me. That memory is like essentially like a Key and Peele skit, just in and of its own. Like, oh man, that's funny times. But yeah, and them boys taught me a lot, man. I love those boys. I love those men. They're obviously grown men now. We're in the same grade, same age. So, uh, but yeah. So like I said, so like that it really introduced me to like when I moved to Norman, you know what I'm saying? I got really introduced to like modern black culture for the first time via the friend group that I just talked about. And then, which was, a game changer. I loved it. I'd go to the skating rink and listen to all like the new hip hop songs that like I hadn't even heard before. It was like right when like peak mixtape Wayne was coming out, so I still biggest Lil Wayne fan. That was some of the how I fell in love with hip hop, was just that early mixtape Wayne. I was like right in like the meat of it, the grind of it. Loved like all I was hearing all that shit. That early Young Jeezy, that early like that not early T.I., like T.I. King album and shit, like that era, man. That was like a good time to be introduced to all that. There was some bangers. So like they were just showing me all this shit. And then, it's really my first time being introduced to girls too, partly because of just our age. Like I feel like everybody's really like introduced to girls at age 11, 12 more than they were in elementary school. That part's normal, but just like, I ain't gonna lie, Norman had better looking girls than the town that I've been from. So like it was just a cool ass time and a cool ass place to be that age. And I'm super glad that, we did move to Norman, and I love Norman. To say it's my other hometown. It's really my primary hometown, to be honest. Man, and then so fast forward to essentially what amounts to like a Joey Diaz story. Can't tell the story of my adolescence without telling this infamous occurrence. Not gonna say anybody's names, definitely in this one, but it is my memory, and I have the right to recall my own memories. It's my life. It happened. I own it. So, like I said, introduction to girls. And I'm just going to say it. The girls in Norman moved at a faster pace than the girls I had met in my small town experiences. Just as limited as the encounters were. I guess you could say more aggressive, more experienced, more. I'm not going to slut shame. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to manage to tell this whole story without slut shaming. I should get a fucking award for that. More experienced, more sexually aggressive. And so I say all that to say, when I was in the 8th grade, I got arrested for getting my dick sucked at the movie theaters. That definitely happened. I had a homie keeping lookout. I was in the bathroom stall. I had this old man walked in with his grandkids to like go to the bathroom, and he saw what was going on. He got the cop, like the little movie theater cop, and I got arrested for indecent public exposure. I forget, outraging public indecency or some shit. But so the key thing is here, I was 13, she was 14. So we were both underage. Don't get any part of that story twisted at all. Both underage, both consenting. It was actually her idea. Um, Literally my first time ever, by the way. Got arrested on your first blowjob. Check. Play fucking never have I ever championed for the rest of my life. Nobody else can check that box. Everybody else is drinking when I say that. Never have I ever. I guess I have done that, so I would be the one to drink. So fuck what I just said. But what I'm saying is, short list of people. I'm sure they're also great influential men of culture that got arrested on their first blowjob. So no, that's probably a little personal for some of y'all. Hey, this is my life story. Also, my first really encounter with law enforcement. Didn't really get off to a great start there. It was a fucking misdemeanor. I did like 10 hours of community service because my mom was not about to pay that fine. My mom definitely kicked my ass, and deservingly so. So, like, that's not a sob story. Like, no, like, your 13-year-old kid gets arrested for getting his dick sucked. He probably deserves a few, you know what I'm saying, whops upside the head. I think that's totally in bounds. I think, you know what I mean? Like, that's one thing, man. I grew up fast. And I was a little hellraiser when I was young. That's a fact. That's a fact. Then, you know, you transition to high school. And then, man, of course, man, I get back to school. Every guy thinks I'm hella cool. Every girl thinks I'm a disgusting scumbag pig. That lasted probably the rest of the school year. I got, like, street cred. But also, like, every girl thought I was like a scumbag and just wanted to fuck. Which, don't get it twisted. Every 13-year-old boy is a scumbag that wants to fuck. At least, I don't know, maybe I just hung out with a bunch of scumbags. I learned that later as I get older. I'm like, I think every kid is like as bad and like just mature as I was. And like these kids really still be innocent. Like the good kids do exist, but it's like a stark difference if you were like a good kid or a bad kid. But I mean, I was a good kid. That's the thing. I wasn't never hurting nobody. I was just doing things that like society kind of frowns upon. But hey, living life, man. You live and you learn. Yeah, rumble, young man, rumble, as they say. So man, I really want to fast forward to like 10th grade, like 9th grade. Not a lot happened. I mean, I was kicking it with the same people. That was the year that I didn't smoke weed. Me and my friends like had this thing where we would like jump each other if we saw each other smoking weed. It worked for like a year, and then we all were like, what are we doing? Because we were doing it for football. We thought it was like make us better football players. And then all the like the best football players we knew smoked hella weed, and we're like, wait, what are we doing? Let's roll up. So yeah, freshman year is the last year I didn't smoke weed. But really besides that, sophomore year was like when everything happened, man. Like sophomore year, that's when I got these dreads. So I wouldn't have Dreadful Talk if it wasn't for sophomore year. That's officially 10 years ago. So shout out, yeah, I got my dreads, and I remember I got them over spring break sophomore year. I got my dreads and pierced my ears. I came back a brand new person. I fucking pulled up, man. Yeah, so everybody, I had a few people say, oh, you do regret that, it's permanent. Still got these motherfuckers, man. Still got them. Great decision. No regrets, as they say. Let me see. Also, man, like I said, whenever you hear me talk about anything I accomplished in football, don't think that I'm being like Uncle Rico, and this is why. My sophomore and junior year, I played JV. That was another part of my struggle. I was really, really good at football. Ask anybody. But I had goddamn monsters ahead of me. Shout out Greg Offenberger and David Nelson. They were like literally like NFL-sized linebackers just starting over me, which I couldn't even mad. Like I would start them over me too. But so I had to play 2 years of JV. Most guys really just play, 10th grade or not at all if they're real good. So not a lot of guys that played JV sophomore and junior year go on to like have a college career and shit. So like I worked and clawed my way for everything I accomplished athletically, and not a damn thing was given to me. So like I said, don't think that like if I'm telling old football stories, like, oh it's glory days, Uncle Rico motherfucker, like no, it ain't that. It's just like that's that struggle, like going against the odds and shit. That's what made me who I am today. Like. And I seen a lot of motherfuckers, man, where they had things handed to them, and they didn't learn shit during that whole. They had the fucking skids greased. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't learn shit as a result, and they didn't like. I mean, so I feel like I grew a lot more and learned a lot more because I didn't have shit handed to me, and I had to, overcome obstacles, like, athletically and in life, So I learned a lot from all of that. Um, so yeah, and then also in 10th grade, that's another thing that happened. So remember earlier I said that I was born at San Jose O'Connor Hospital to Matt Garrett and Vinny Rossetti. And this is a thing that a lot of people know about me. Some people don't. I used to kind of dance around it, but now I'm like completely owning it, and I'm not embarrassed, and it's whatever. So in 10th grade is whenever I found out that Matt Garrett was not my biological father. I had to do a DNA test through some. I don't know the exact details. I've kind of heard two different stories, but like essentially regarding something to do with state of Oklahoma child support. They needed to do a paternity test, DNA test, and it came back that he wasn't my dad. And and the guy that is my dad is a guy named Demetrius Dino Evans, who he himself is a mixed man, a biracial man, part black. And so it turns out that I actually was part black, which I say that because for years, like society, my friends, like quite literally everybody would like always try to like insinuate that I was black or that my dad was not my real dad. And actually Dino came out to visit one year, and it was before I knew or anybody knew, I guess, whatever. And before everybody's like, oh, wasn't that obvious? Like, no, my mom had a lot of friends from California over the years. Every couple of years, a friend from California, sometimes male, sometimes female, would come holler at us, crash on the couch, whatever. Like, old friends stop by occasionally. Like, it's not as obvious as you may think it sounds in retrospect. And but I will say, shout out once again Rico. You'll hear me talk about Rico all the time. My one of my best friends still to this day. Love that guy. But Rico and Tez, him too. You'll hear me always talk about Tez. Great guy too. And Rico and Tez were like, "Nigga, that's your daddy. He even walked like you." Like they was like clowning. It was like a lot of comedy though. Like that's the thing about comedy. There's some truth in comedy. Like. And some might say it's the last venue for truth. And maybe like, but they were like clowning, but they were like, nigga, that's your daddy. And we do look a lot alike. Like, I'll say that. Like, we do look a lot alike. And they were right. And at the time, I got so mad. I'm like, man, shut up. Like, fuck that. Shut up. Fucking young, dumb kids. But they were fucking right. I'll never forget that. They fucking knew. They called that shit. They knew exactly. They knew exactly, like my real life. I went through like a real life Mari episode essentially. Like that's the daddy. Like, they knew who the daddy was. Like man, shout out to them, man. Their instincts knew. But yeah, no. So that did happen. So 15 is whenever, like I said, that was kind of like a pivotal shift in my life. Let me see. Now, fast forward to senior year. Senior year, I finally got to, I had my varsity starting spot, middle linebacker. It was dope. I actually got like a front, well, not the front page, but like front of the sports page, like article written about me that year. Like, where did this guy come from? Because he was like a JV player, and now he's like, I was like leading the district in tackles or conference or some shit. I was balling out my senior year, and so I got in the newspaper once. They like a whole write up. That was cool. They didn't tell me about that shit though. So in my picture, I look hella lame. Like I was wearing my busted ass practice cleats, my ugly bulky knee brace. Like I did not look swaggy at all. Still one of my regrets. Like if they would have just given me like one day's heads up, I would have been clean as a bitch. But what can you do? It was cool. Not a lot of people got to experience that. Made the front page another time. A picture of me sacking Morse quarterback. I like to like slam people, so it was like a cool slam shot. Man, cool thing. Every fucking Norman High football senior got to experience. We play our first game of the year every year against our crosstown rival. Of course, a lot of teams do that. What makes that special? Well, what makes that special is that it's we played in OU's big ass stadium, and that's like a stadium that, like, to me, that's like hallowed ground. Like, to say that I got to play a game on that stadium, even if it was in high school, it was an epic moment for me. Loved that. Owen Field, got to play on that. So that was dope. And we got the dub. We got the win, too. I balled out. Also, shout out senior year. We happened to have a young... No, well, he moved here actually junior year. A young blonde-headed kid from Iowa, lanky kid by the name of George Kittle. Yes, you're right. All-pro 49er tight end George Kittle, a teammate of mine, buddy of mine. Shout out George, love you, man. Definitely big fans of his then and now, man. Always been a great guy. Don't got a negative story to tell. Don't have no dirt, nothing, man. That fool is a solid, man. Great athlete. He played wide receiver and safety back then. A lot of people can't imagine him now. He's all bulky, but he definitely got his beefy boy on. But yeah, back then he was a lot lankier, and he played wide receiver, great wide receiver too. And then like a dope like rover safety position. He got hella picks because no like noodle-armed Oklahoma high school quarterback could like throw it over him. He would just go like snag it out of the air. So that was dope. Definitely some highlights of senior year. Pretty much all sports related. I didn't really have like a high school sweetheart, to be honest. Like, I did my thing. Had a couple shorties. I had a couple crushes, couple flings, couple this, couple that. But yeah, didn't have like a traditional high school sweetheart type situation. I did actually go to high school. I think it's cool to mention with my current girlfriend, Nina, though. We actually went to the same high school. I'll get to that kind of crazy sequence of events here shortly. Crazy turn in my life there for sure. Also got my first tattoo senior year when I was 17. That's my mom's signature. And how I talked her into it, because my mom didn't want me to get a tattoo until I was 18. And I was like, all right, but mom, check it out. Because like football and tattoos go together like this. Like all your favorite football players, all my favorite football players all had tattoos. Like favorite basketball players, favorite rappers. Like, I don't know. Our generation loves tattoos. And I was like, I thought it would look so cool. I wanted to play a high school football game with like a tattoo showing out of my uniform. I thought that looked so cool. I was so jealous of the guys that had that in high school. I thought it looked so badass. And I was like, all right, mom, but check this out. Because I'm born in June. So I was going to graduate high school when I was 17. And I was like, so a lot of guys are able to get tats for like their senior year. But just because of how my birthday is, I can't get one for senior year, like that's messed up. So I kind of like lawyered her, mouthpieced her into it, and then I was like, oh, and I'm gonna get your signature. So you know how it goes with the old first tat with your folks. Anybody with ink knows how that goes, having that conversation. But after senior year, fucking we went to the playoffs. We lost in the first round of Owasso. Like, I think it was in overtime, like the last minute. It was heartbreaking loss. And then I after that I didn't have any fucking scholarship offers at all for football, and so I was like pretty like heartbroken. I was like, like that was my life passion, was football. I mean, I put my heart, soul, everything. I loved it so much. It was like all I cared about in life was football at that time. And I was heartbroken that like my playing career was over. Like I would have probably literally sold my soul to keep it going. Like dead ass. Like I loved football that much. And like it was part of my identity. It was just I mean I loved everything about it. And I was good at it. And I was heartbroken. And then yeah, it was like a week I think. But I had tried. I had my little huddle film. I had sent it out. I actually sent it. I'll never forget. I sent it to San Jose State, just thinking I was like, surely there can't be that many guys better than me at San Jose State. They D1. Fuck it. And like I said, it's my other hometown. I always knew that. I always wanted to come back here. I guess maybe that was like the start of me manifesting that. But yeah, I didn't hear back at all. I was 185 pounds in high school too. Let's not forget that. But then I'll never forget. I don't even remember. I had sent somebody had told me to send my film to OBU. I think it was the guy who ended up being my roommate, Nick Gaines. I'm pretty sure because he went there too. He was like, I know this coach's email, and he gave me Coach Milo. Shout out Coach Milo, love that guy. Give me Coach Milo's email, and I sent him my film. And like I think it was like by the hair, the chin. I got a scholarship offer from them. And I went like for my visit, and I gotta go there with another like I said with a teammate of mine, Nick Gaines. Shout out Nick, what's up, bro? And we ended up being roommates that freshman year at OBU, so that was cool. Honestly, though, in retrospect, hindsight is 2020. I regret going to OBU. Horrible decision. Impacted my life negatively on many fronts. But like I said I would sell my soul, and I essentially did. Like I went to a place I didn't believe in a place I didn't want to be, at a school I didn't want to go to, went in a little bit of debt because I got a scholarship, but OBU's like a private school, so it's like $30,000 a year. It covered a good chunk of it, but not all of it. And so I did have to take out some loans. Like I did all of this just so I could play college football and essentially pursue my childhood dream, which, like I said, that's the type of guy I am. I go after what I want, I want to chase my dream. So I did it, and it's like on one front I regret it, on one front I don't, because like dead ass, that was all I wanted to do in life was play college football. I did it. I love that I did that. I've met some lifelong friends. Shout out Daryl Fields, that's my dog. Made some memories. But man, I have some miserable fucking times there, and is that a fucking bullshit ass place to be? More so Shawnee than OBU, but like I don't know, just like I'm not a right wing Baptist school is just not a good place for me to be, and that's where I was for 3 years. I was good too, man. I had a good college career. I never officially was a starter, but Coach Milo had like this dope rotation system because, I mean, everybody ran spread offenses pretty much. And OBU, by the way, stands for Oklahoma Baptist University. And a lot of people in that conference were running spread, so they would like rotate linebackers out every other drive. So it's like I'm not gonna cap, I'm not gonna front. Like I didn't start, but I got like hella reps, like a bunch of snaps, like hella, like half the snaps. We split snaps, so it was like how some people do running back by committee. We would literally do linebacker by committee. And so I got a lot of playing time. It was a good time. I mean, it was fun. I got to accomplish my dreams, but like living in Shawnee. And then Shawnee brought me back to that small town environment that I thought I had finally escaped. Shawnee is like kind of like a blend of Purcell and Wynnewood. Like it's like there's a bunch of meth, a bunch of poverty, just a shitty place to be. It's Shawnee, Oklahoma is a fucking shithole. I know those other places I said, oh, I'm not talking down. No, I'm talking down on Shawnee, Oklahoma, man. Fuck Shawnee, Oklahoma. That place ain't nothing for nobody there, man. Like really, like I fucking hated living there for 3 years. I really did. That's what inspired me. So after my what was like my red shirt sophomore football wise, but junior school wise, I after that year I left OBU. I just could not do Shawnee anymore. Hated it. I just hated it. Hold on, I need to hit some of this cookies. Blue chip cookies, absolutely delicious. One of my favorite strains. If you watched episode 6, I talked about how much I love cookies. You see, it is getting a little hot in this room. But when I left OBU, my plan was to move back to Norman and finish my degree at OU. And I did go to OU for a semester. Another goal of mine when I was a little kid, I always wanted to go to OU. And man, when I got to OU, I hated that shit too, man. Like it gave me like mad plantation vibes. Like I still love OU football like as a sports fan, but just like I wouldn't really want my kid going there as a student or like people of color. Like it gives you weird like plantation vibes. That's what I got. I'll say that unashamedly. Nobody has to agree with me if they don't want to, but that's how I felt when I was walking around that campus. Like real talk, it was the weird vibes. I did learn a lot though. One of my favorite college class I ever took was called Race and Science. Weird class, but right up my alley. And it kind of what it really ended up being was my teacher was, I think she was originally from India, but she had like traveled all over the world. But it ended up being like essentially just a world history class, but just from a non-Eurocentric point of view. And that class changed my fucking life. I learned so much in that class. I loved that class. Even just realizing how whitewashed and brainwashed and propagandized our education and the shit that they teach us. It was almost like an unlearning. I think I unlearned more things than I learned in that class. And I feel like that's what a lot of Americans, especially in this time of like reawakening, need to do is unlearn some shit. And that's why when people say that they can't, it's bullshit because I've done it. I've unlearned a bunch of shit. I've unlearned. So you can too, man. But it does take like confronting yourself and being vulnerable in a way that not a lot of people are comfortable with. Like kind of checking your ego at the door and like realizing that maybe some of your worldviews are fucked up. I've done it, man. So it can be done. I don't want to hear that like, oh, people can't teach old dog new tricks and all that shit. Fuck that, man. So just sometimes we got to check ourselves, man. I've done it. Like I'm not preaching from a high horse or asking nobody to do stuff that I haven't done myself. Running out of time here on this one. It's cool. I'll just do another one and then I'll blend it together on YouTube. So yeah, everybody that's still with me and still wants to hear more, just stay tuned if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Instagram, join this new live I'm about to do. All right, for everybody on Instagram, this is Dreadful Talk, episode 7, part 2. For those that are still sticking around, if you're on YouTube, you're still sticking around, shout out to you, man. I appreciate you watching the whole thing. All right, just kind of telling my life journey, who I am, where I came from, how I come to hold the worldviews that I hold, and just what made me the man that I am today that sits here before you. The man that sits here before you, while I'm not a finished product, I've come a long way, and I just kind of want to share some of that journey. It is kind of still brief, but I don't want to go too deep. More of a general, where I've been, what I've done, who am I type of thing. So that being said, when I left it off on the last one, I had just left OBU. I could not do Shawnee, Oklahoma anymore. It was a terrible place for me. I was so done with the administration of the school. And I had 3 shoulder injuries. I had separated my AC joint 3 times to the point where I played middle linebacker, and so I couldn't hit hard anymore. If you're playing middle linebacker and you can't hit hard no more, the game's no longer fun. And if it was no longer fun and I could no longer give it my all and be successful at it, why put yourself through all that? So I decided to leave OBU. I went to OU, didn't like it. There was the plantation vibes. And then on top of that, I had a counselor fuck me on my schedule. I told them I didn't want to be an English major. They had this program where it was like build your own degree so I could graduate faster. I was just trying to get that shit done. I forget exactly what it's called, but for lack of better terms, it's like build your own degree. Like whatever classes you want, you take enough hours, boom, you get this degree and whatever the fuck. And I was like, word, I'll take that if that means that I can do it faster. Had this whole fucking conversation about switching my major. I go the whole semester to pay those motherfuckers, and then at the end of the semester, I go to re-enroll for the next classes, and then they're like, oh, so I see you're an English major. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. I changed it. And they're like, oh, it was never changed. So these motherfuckers wasted a whole semester of my time. And then whenever I did like the math on what's changing it back, or if I did just finish English, it was a whole nother 2 whole years, 4 more semesters. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just cool it on this school shit for a minute. And, you know, that was an unpopular decision. You know, I had some people tell me to this day that I should have stuck it out. Sometimes when I'm applying to jobs, I kind of wonder if I should have. But I personally believe maybe I really don't think I'm meant to work a 9 to 5. But so what I'm saying is that was an unpopular decision to leave school. Controversial, if you will. But you know what? I don't regret it because I love where I'm at. And if I would have stayed in school, it would have altered my life path in a way like butterfly effect type shit. So I don't have a single regret about quitting school. And be like, oh, you went to school? I went to school for 3.5 years. And yeah, and I'm like, oh, you're so close. They tell you that until you see how actual credits work and how they try to just play you. It's like a car dealership when you're like enrolling in classes. I swear to God. So yeah, by the end of it, I was so fed up with just the higher education system and I felt like I was being played, like I was just running, like jumping through hoops. So I said, fuck that. And I worked jobs. I worked a few different jobs and shit. I'll be real, I was selling weed, man. And after a while, I'll be real, I was kind of like in this like hopeless situation. Like I didn't have a lot of hope for the future. Like, I don't know, like it wasn't depressed. It was just like pessimistic, like worldview. Like I didn't really see like a way out. I didn't see an option. I didn't see a plan. A lot of people I knew were just like, you know, getting girls pregnant and shit like that, or, you know, just getting money here, getting money there, just. But during that time, that's whenever I started really making music again, for taking it seriously. And it was fun, man. Me and my boy Rico, we would have shows. We would have people at those shows. It was a good time. We made some good music. Unfortunately, a lot of it like got lost to just different people's computers, and I fall out with them, or it's weird, some shit's disappeared from SoundCloud, some of the few survivors. So, man, we spent countless hours in the studio during those days, and I don't really have much to show for it. But it was still a bunch of fun, and I love making music, and it laid the foundation for, honestly, the music that I'm still making to this day. And it was some just memories with my best friend that I'll never forget. So definitely no regrets there either, man. You know, that's the thing, man. You can't really have regrets. You really can't. Regrets does not equal failure. You can have failure, but you can't have regrets because everybody fails. all the most successful people have failed. So if you just like regret every failure, no, like that's what got you. That's what makes you you. That's where you got to where you are. And so that's why you hear me say no regrets, man. Even on quote unquote L's that I've taken, still no regrets. Fuck it. Like, I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm breathing, I'm doing just motherfucking fine on all fronts. So who am I to regret or say shit didn't work out the way it was supposed to? Because I'm like, just move forward, make a better future for yourself. Um, and so yeah, I was just at this hopeless stage where like it may sound ridiculous now, it really may to you. And it may sound to people ridiculous to people that knew me when I was a kid, but I was at a point where I was really just ready just to like trap it out and thug it out, dead ass. Like that during that era, I was shot at leaving the Migos concert. Actually, that was a wild night. I fucking this car behind me, just this guy was out the window, started shooting at me. And I first thoughts in my head was like, surely he's not shooting at me. And then I sped off, obviously. And then they chased me and we're still shooting. I literally got like a high-speed chase after the Migos concert in Oklahoma City, like at like 2015. That was like some action movie type shit. I actually had my burner on me, but I couldn't shoot backwards and drive, or else I probably would have. And then who knows what path that would have took my life down. I may be in the jail, you know what I'm saying? So man, like I'm thankful to be where I'm at, man, and I'm not, I wouldn't take back a single second of none of them struggles. I want it. It made me the man I am today. You know what I mean? So that being said, like, right, that happened like probably less than a month before I moved to Cali. That brings me to this obviously major fork in the road is how I ended up back in California. It's really not some cool glamorous story. It's actually a really shitty story. But I'm going to tell it to y'all. So like I said, I was just living this essentially hopeless existence, selling weed, scumbagging, getting drunk a lot, just having meaningless hookups, just being ratchet. Just being a little hood rat, ratchet nigga, honestly, just being like, I don't know. I had some good times. You know, I was making music. It wasn't all bad. I don't want to just demonize that former version of myself, but I definitely wasn't probably living life the way I should and probably being as productive as I should have been and probably just not treating people the way I should have treated them. You know what I'm saying? Probably was way too selfish and just, I know Gucci Mane got this song called Dirty Little Nigga. He a dirty little nigga. He a dirty little nigga. In a lot of ways, I was a dirty little nigga. But, I mean, I'm kind of joking, but kind of not, man. So, that's where I'm at. And my lease is up on this apartment on the east side of Norman. My lease was up at the end of August, and I didn't have, like, shit for future plans. My current roommate had already told me that she wasn't trying to, like, get another spot. I wasn't trying to move back in my mom's place. And so here we are like the beginning of August and I gotta be out at the end of August. And so I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And then what I thought was like a fucking call from the heavens ended up being a call from the devil. And I say that, you know, figuratively. I'm not religious, and no, it's not no Illuminati shit. I know conspiracy theorists out there like, what did he just say? But I got a call from essentially what turned out to be the devil, man. It was actually, I didn't even have the number in my phone, but it was a California number. And I knew I wasn't getting no California, like, prank call or nothing like that, especially back then. I was fully living in Oklahoma. I knew anybody calling me from Cali knew me. It had to be somehow family something. And so I answered the call, and, you know what, I'm not even going to say his name. I'm going to call him fucking Dickhead. It's Dickhead. But at the time, it was Big Homie. He was like a cousin. It was like my mom's friend from like back in the 90s, like her like old hippie friend. Um, like it was her son, and like they were family. Like when we would visit California, we would stay at their houses. Like I considered them like cousins. And so he offered me a job in Fresno working on like vending machines. He like owned a bunch of vending machines, and I would be like driving the route to refill them. And it was paying bank. And like Fresno has a low cost of living. It's not like the Bay Area. Like Fresno's damn near the same price as Oklahoma as far as rent and apartments and shit like that. It's way cheaper. So I was gonna be making bank, and I was gonna be living cheap. And so I was like, what? And like I didn't have an alternative. But the catch was I had 12 days notice. He was like, the job, you start in 12 days if you say yes. And mind you, it's like a 3-day drive. So that means I had 9 days, like from the moment I said yes to like pack my shit, say goodbye, all that. So that happened just like that. Like, I mean, I said yes. I'd always wanted to live in Cali. Not, I didn't always want to live in Fresno working on vending machines, but I just viewed it as my foot in the door. And it turns out it's exactly what the fuck it ended up being. It got me out here. So, like, people, don't be afraid to hop on an opportunity, even if it's kind of a whack opportunity. Think bigger, play chess, think 2-3 moves ahead. It ain't all about that initial move. It could set up a future move. A fucking vending machine job in Fresno set up me moving to live in what I consider paradise. I love the Bay Area, meeting the love of my life who was in the Bay Area at the time, and just life completely changing for me and me finding the happiness. And so all from taking a risk on this bullshit vending machine job in Fresno. So just don't be afraid to take a risk, man. Like, that's what I'm gonna say. Like that's what I did, and it worked out smooth for me. And now it wasn't easy, and I didn't always have faith that it was gonna always be smooth, but there was times it looked like it wasn't gonna be smooth. But in the end, it worked out smooth because I took a gamble and I bet on myself. Um, but that I was in Fresno for like a month, and the guy just treated me like a fucking slave. I was working like 14-hour days, I put 10,000 miles on my truck in a month. And he would talk to me like shit, so rude. Like, he got me out there like, yeah, you're my little bro. It's all cool. And then literally, and I was living with him too. So he was my boss, my only person I knew in Fresno, and I was living with him. He had me had me by the balls. It was like some weird, like damn near criminal mind shit. As soon as I got there, he'd flip the script and he would like cuss at me and just talk at me so nasty and mean, and just was fucked up, treated me like shit, treated me like dirt. And and it was just fucked up. And then after a month, he actually fired me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I couldn't quit. He had me by the balls. So he fired me because I wasn't working hard, and I was busting my ass like a slave for 15 hours a day. And I wasn't getting paid overtime or anything. It was salaried. So, like, sorry, y'all, hold on. Holly is throwing a fit. I'll be right back. That's my little dog. I'm so sorry, y'all. Seems like a nice time to take another one of these. But it was no bueno in Fresno. I will say this, though. Fresno has the best Mexican food. That's going to piss off people in the Bay Area. Fuck that. Fresno has the best Mexican food. Oh, my God. It was so good. like the Bay Area is really good too. It's like, splitting hairs. Like Jordan was a little bit better than Kobe. But man, Fresno's Mexican food. Shout out to y'all. Um, but it was my introduction to Cali, and as much as it sucked, there's actually a few good memories that pop out. So I called my aunt. I literally had my truck packed up. I was literally about to drive back to Oklahoma. Hadn't told anybody. I was like broken. I was crying in that shit. I was fucked up. I thought I had just like, went all in and lost. Like I thought I was like, man, hanging by a thread. I thought I had like gambled and failed and, had to go home with my tail between my legs. So I called my aunt who lives in Fremont, which is a town in like the East Bay. And I was like, yo, I just wanted to like let y'all know that I'm moving, like I'm going back to Oklahoma. I didn't want y'all to think I like, I don't know, just I'm leaving. Let her know a little bit what happened. And she was like, what? Because it was already nighttime. She's like, well, here, it's only like a 3-hour drive here as opposed to trying to start a 24-hour drive in the middle of the night. And so I drove to Fremont. And then the next day, she like talked me into staying for a couple weeks. Like she was like, well, while you're out here, I mean, you're already here. And I was like, good point. And then I kind of just did like a couch tour. I was literally like 2 weeks at one aunt's house, 2 weeks at another aunt's house, 2 weeks at another aunt's house. I was doing like the tour. And then I kind of settled in at one of my aunt's houses on the south side of San Jose. I said, my roots are here. I have family here. Like all growing up in Oklahoma, I didn't have no family. Really, to be honest, all my roots and families are here in San Jose. So like I had my mom's sisters help me out to get on my feet a little bit. And then I got my first job out here with Big Five Sporting Goods. It's kind of like an academy for those in Oklahoma, just like a little sporting goods store. But I liked it because they sold guns, and I thought that was cool. I actually got to go, like, it was funny. There was like this, when I was like, because I was like manager in training, because they would pay me more, so I was like, fuck it, whatever. Didn't really ever have intentions of being a manager, but it gave me like a $3 raise, so I was like, fuck it, I'll be manager in training. But they sent me to like the shooting range because we sold guns at Big Five, and I was like the only person there that like knew how to shoot and operate a firearm. And like the guys were like confused because they get all these Bay Area kids out there don't know anything, never shot a gun, and it was really like funny. It seemed like something out of like a King of the Hill episode. He was like, "Son, you're not from around here, are you?" Because it was out in Livermore, which is weird because it's like just east of the Bay Area, but they think they're like hella country, and I guess in some ways they are, but whatever. So he's like, "Son, you're not from around here, are you?" And I was like, no, I'm from Oklahoma. I've been shooting guns my whole life. And he was just like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And like, cause like I wasn't missing anything. I was like shooting. Like, I'm a good shot. I'm a good shot with the long gun. I'll be real. I'm not that good of a shot with my handgun yet. It's been a while since I practiced. I just need to practice more. But definitely better with a shotgun or a rifle or like an AR. Then I moved in. I moved in with just one of the biggest blessings in my life, Nick Chargan. I call him my uncle. Love that guy. And I mean, I was paying him rent, but he still did me a solid by like letting me move in with him. He has a nice house, nice, good place to live, man. Super just nurturing, healthy environment, good for your head, positive people to be around. And actually, my biological father lives with them too. So I got closer with him in that time. That was really cool, really unique opportunity. I got to know him more. And I also got a job at a tech company. It's a little small. It's like they called themselves a startup, but they had been around for 10 years. So it was just a small company. But it was a tech company. I was like, I can't live and work in Silicon Valley and not at least try to see what the tech world's talking about. You know what I mean? Like I was like, that's what all these jobs are, that you can make a little money. And I was going to make quite a bit more money at that job. At the tech company, I don't really want to say their name, honestly. I don't want to get caught up in any type of legal situation. So yeah, and it was cool. I made more money, and I mean, it wasn't horrible. There was a few good times, but I worked there for 2 years. But I just learned that that's not what I want to do with my life. That's for sure. And I'd gotten a few raises, and so after a couple of years, it was like there really kind of wasn't any more room in the way that the company was structured for me to really get any more raises. Like the next step would be like managers, and they didn't really need any more managers. There was no open managerial like positions, and like and so I was just like, and I was just getting to the point. I was just like miserable. I needed to change. 2 years is the longest I'd ever worked a job, and I only stayed there 2 years to like prove to myself that I could. Like, I don't know. I just like wanted to not be a quitter, like be a grown up, all that shit, hold down a job. And I did. I proved that to myself, just like on some mental strength. Sometimes you got to test yourself like that, challenge yourself like that. And I didn't fold. I think it was like literally like I think I quit 2 years to the day or like right after. I was like, oh, I've been at this bitch 2 years. Bet I can't do a third. Like, cause whenever you've been in a place 2 years, like do you want to do three? Do you want to do five? If not, you should probably move around. That's some more advice to y'all. Dreadful talk advice. You've been at a job 2 years, and there's no more opportunities for raises, and you don't like that shit, or you definitely don't want to do that shit for the rest of your life, man. Start applying. I'm not saying quit on the spot like in Dave Chappelle's movie, you know what I mean? Fuck you, you're cool. No, don't do that. But definitely, especially now with Indeed, it's so easy, y'all. Just fire off a couple apps. Boom, man. You probably get paid more anyways. Try something new, man. Maybe move to a new city. Get out your fucking hometown. It's so good to get out of your hometown, seriously, unless you're going to move to Shawnee, Oklahoma. If you're going to move to Shawnee, Oklahoma, stay in your hometown. But it's also this time I was working at this tech company and living with my Uncle Nick, where I met the love of my life, Nina. And man, talking about just like a super positive influence on every aspect of my life. Like seriously, you'll see it. That's us together up here in some of these pictures. That's my baby. Love you, babe. Shout out Nina. She sings. She's got a beautiful voice. She's a hustler too. She's a go-getter, man. She gets that bag. Love her. She's great. Huge impact on my life. We've been together going on 2 years now. Been great. Went to high school together. So yeah, so I want to revisit that. So we both started off in Norman, Oklahoma in high school. Both stayed in Oklahoma for some years after high school. And then she had family in like Northern California, like kind of up there past Sacramento, like in the hills. And then she also had family in San Francisco. So she had a very similar situation to me, and she like went to at first up in the mountains, and then she ended up in San Francisco. And then I started off in Fresno, and then ended up in the Bay as well myself, in the South Bay, which San Jose, where I'm at, is like an hour from San Francisco, an hour south if you're driving. A little more than that if you're taking public transportation like the BART. I always take the BART though. Fuck driving my truck to San Francisco. San Francisco is like Grand Theft Auto. Like no rules apply, no laws apply. It's Grand Theft Auto where you're not allowed to have a gun. So I'm just glad that I can fight. Yeah, San Francisco's nuts. Everybody that calls it pussy cake, pansy ass liberalville, all right, that shit is grimy. You gotta watch your P's and Q's in SF for real. But she posted a picture in San Francisco, and I thought she was just like on vacation. I mean, San Francisco's a popular tourist spot. And I was like, oh, how long are you in the Bay for? She's like, oh, I live here. I've been living here for like a year. I was like, oh shit, I'm slipping. Like, let's link. And we ended up just like, just San Francisco is a great town to court a woman. Let me tell you, fellas. I mean, unlimited bars, unlimited amazing food. the most best views everywhere you look looks like a painting. Oh, it was so. I mean, I essentially fell in love in San Francisco, man, and I mean, what a great place for that to happen. That was huge turning point in my life. Great, beautiful, wonderful memories. Still making them, man. We're still going strong. Definitely plan on getting married, soon. Kind of Corona put a hold on all that. Um, yeah, and then I mean, since then, man, I worked at a dispensary after I left the tech company. That was cool because I got tired. I left the tech company, and the thing is, like the tech company paid me more but didn't have benefits. The dispensary paid me less but had great benefits. So I was like, I figured it's like a grown man decision to get some benefits. And I like weed. How bad could it be working at a dispensary? Well, let me tell you, it can suck working at a dispensary. At least the one I worked for. Hated it. Like, worked with some annoying people. Worked with some great people too, some cool people. Made some friends, but also it was just some shitty. I hated just seeing that aspect of the cannabis industry. It was just annoying. I was essentially working retail again. I wasn't making that much money. They really lost me. At first, we had a badass discount. But then they like didn't include the taxes in our discount, so then like our discount essentially was decreased, and I was like, "Oh, you got me fucked up." But it was crazy. Right before the pandemic hit, I was working at this dispensary, and I was about to quit. I was so close to quitting there. I was on my last nerve. I had like cussed out one of my managers, pretty much tried to square up with him. I hated his ass. And somehow didn't get fired for that, gang. But then the Corona hit, and so it like timed out perfectly. I essentially got paid to quit. They called it a voluntary layoff. I was about to quit, and you want to pay me a little bit more, a couple zeros, bet. And so I got that voluntary layoff. I've been quarantining since that date was March 18th. I've been quarantining since March 18th. Honestly, in the weirdest way, no disrespect possible, but for my mental health and just my life trajectory and figuring out what the fuck is important to me and what I want to do with my life, this coronavirus quarantine has been so helpful and like in a weird way, this weird blessing to me. Now, obviously, RIP to all those lost. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, like coronavirus is good. No, this ability to like not work a meaningless job and have some just get rested and spend time with my loved ones and my dog and get in touch with things that I liked spending my time doing. I started gardening. I grew vegetables. Eating something that you grew from a seed is dope, y'all. Grow you some food. Learn to grow your own food. Seriously. It's dope. I highly recommend it. Learn to grow your own cannabis if you're in a legal state. Or be sneaky if you ain't. There's just so many positives, y'all. This podcast was born. I know that, and I want to address this too. I know there's probably some hater out there like, oh, I'd start a podcast too if I didn't have to work. Yeah, that was in my way too. That was stopping me from pursuing what I wanted to do with my life, how I wanted to spend my limited time on this earth, y'all. We're not here a long time, and it's fucking breaks my heart that people spend, these invaluable seconds, breaths that we have, these limited breaths we have on this earth, just doing shit that they hate doing, man. Don't let that happen. Try not to. And those that do it, man, oh, God bless you. I mean, I'm not even religious, but God bless you. Like, seriously, like, I mean, I know our economy and our world needs people to do, like, shitty jobs. But, man, for my loved ones and those I care about, I don't, like, just, man, take a chance, man. Pursue a dream. I mean, you might take some L's. I mean, nothing's a guarantee. Even them jobs ain't guarantees. They could, you found that out during coronavirus, huh? You thought that job was the safe bet. until they furloughed Joe ass or fired Joe ass or laid Joe ass off. You still feel like that was the safe choice, or do you feel like if you were gonna lose, would you rather lose betting on yourself? Because you can lose either way. There's no such thing as a sure thing. Everybody wants to say, oh, music is so risky. Podcasting is no guarantee. And it's not. But, man, neither is them 9 to 5s, man. Like, they could cut your ass at any instance. You are expendable. You are a number. You're not that, though. You're a human being, man, with well-rounded, in-depth thoughts and passions that you want to pursue, and friendships that you want to invest more time in, and memories that you want to make. You know, that's what, we should be spending our lives doing. And, I'm thankful. I'm thankful. Call it fucked up, whatever. I'm thankful for this ability to kind of withdraw from this unhealthy, toxic society and just get back to like my roots and like what's good and what's right and what's true and what I should be doing and how I should be living and what's important. And I thank each and everybody that wants to view and just take this journey with me. And I just appreciate, you guys, every single view, every single share, every single follow, every single subscribe. Just thanks, everybody. I'm pretty excited. This might be my last one with Bob in the background. I got my official Dreadful Talk, like, tapestry coming. I'm so stoked. Oh, man. That's going to be legit, y'all. I'm excited about that. I think my next podcast, I'm going to have my first guest as well. Keep it secret as who that is. You won't be shocked, but you will be happy to see who it is. I'm going to keep it a surprise for y'all. But yeah, thanks everybody that tuned in. I think I'm going to wrap up episode 7, part 2 for Instagram. But episode 7 of Dreadful Talk. Thank you, everybody. That's just a little bit about who I am, where I come from, my life journey. I'm sure I skimmed a lot, missed a lot. I love a lot of people. I didn't shout everybody out. I skipped some parts, but I just wanted to, learn who I am, where I come from, provide some context to some of my ideologies on race and society and religion and just things of that nature. Like I said, I'm a big believer in nurture over nature, meaning we're kind of products over our environment rather than to just saying certain people are born good or born dumb or born whatever. I think that, a lot of it is, we're kind of clay that's molded by our surroundings. And so by telling you the, surroundings that molded my clay, wanted to, hopefully, give you some insight as to the person that I, ended up being today and that you essentially are listening to and watching right now. So yeah, episode 7, Dreadful Talk, just pretty much my journey, my story. Y'all, thanks for watching.